Hello, everyone. Welcome to Faculty Spotlights for the College of Professional Psychology at the Chicago School. I'm Lance Garrison, Dean for the college, and I am joined by Dr. Omar Diaz, Clinical Psychology faculty member for our PsyD Clinical Psychology program in Chicago. Welcome, Dr. Diaz.
Thank you, Dr. Garrison. And how are you doing today?
Awesome, awesome. Happy to be able to have a conversation with you.
I'm welcome to be here.
Great. Well, so maybe we start by having you share a little bit about your background and how it is that you came to be a faculty member at the Chicago School.
Oh, sure. So I'm an alum of the program
Oh,
at
okay.
the Chicago campus. So I
Fantastic.
did obtain my PsyD at the Chicago School, but once upon a time I started my career in student affairs
Ah,
before pursuing clinical psychology, and I think that foundation really shaped how I think about development, mentorship,
hmm
systems of support. Um, and so my doctoral training in clinical work has given me the chance to work with diverse communities from college counseling centers, private practice, community mental health.
Yeah.
But I found myself drawn to supervision and training. And so the opportunity to work on staff and work on faculty at the Chicago School was one that was appealing to me, and it stood out in general because of its focus on applied training and its
Yeah.
commitments to serving underserved populations. And I felt like coming here was a natural extension of both my professional values and some of my own journey. And so this
Yeah.
is I had once upon a time I knew I would find my way back into something like this, and I'm just
Yeah.
glad I was able to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. In terms of teaching, research, or clinical practice, what are you finding yourself most passionate about these days?
Mhm. So right now, I'm especially passionate about preparing students for the realities of a clinical practice,
Yeah.
and I think that's partly as I serve as associate director of training for clinical training at the Chicago School, but everything from strengthening their clinical skills to navigating licensure exams like the EPPP. I'm also invested in exploring how like emerging tools like AI can help ethically support training and
Yeah.
supervision. And so it's still fairly new, but there's so many different ways that you can look at it, and so
Yeah.
many new emerging technologies that it almost feels overwhelming. But I think just kind of starting out is a place that we all can try. But on a practical side, I remain deeply invested in cultural responsive therapy and how
hmm
systems impact not only people but their challenges and their strengths.
Yeah. Yeah. The AI thing is interesting, right? Because it is coming on so hard and so fast that I don't know that any of us understand where it's ultimately going to go, but the opportunities for, I think, streamlining the workflow and even kind of serving as a way to augment clinical knowledge and maybe ultimately make better clinical decisions for patients is in the future for us if it doesn't go awry, right?
And
And
I
there's
think
lots of ethical quandaries all wrapped up in
mhm.
the AI piece for psychologists as well.
And it's maintaining what us as psychologists try to strive for, like
Yeah,
bringing no harm to other people. And so if there's a tool that we can use to help increase a person's chances of ultimately maybe feeling better or getting to a place that they can feel better on their own,
yeah.
I think why not take it? There was once upon a time where I remember Facebook starting out. I was sitting as an undergrad, and someone said, "Hey, uh, uh, there's this thing called the Facebook," and I didn't know what it was. And then the next week, we had access to it.
Yeah, wow.
Once upon a
Yeah,
time, but it felt more like reactionary as to now. Like I'm thinking of like how can I be a little bit more proactive in this?
sure.
So,
Yeah. You touched on this a little bit already, Dr. Diaz, but maybe you could go a little bit deeper. How do you see your work on a day-to-day basis as a training director and as a faculty member impacting students in the community?
hmm I see my role as helping bridge the gap between the classroom and the
Yeah.
field. I think by advising through practicum and internships, reviewing materials to application materials for these different opportunities, these different training opportunities, and just checking in with their overall development. I'm aiming to help equip for real world settings. Um, that directly impacts the community because our students go to and provide services in schools, hospitals,
Hmm.
community agencies. I mean, private practices. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
Strengthening their training means strengthening the care available to populations that need it most. And I think even before I started at the Chicago School, once upon a time when I was trying to choose a graduate school, just being able to speak. I remember speaking with a student who was in their training.
Yeah.
They were doing their intermediate training, which was their first year of therapy. And I just remember this, just the professionalism and the clinical acumen that they had even at that stage. I did, and I wasn't even in grad school just yet.
Yeah.
I was working as an administrator at one point, and so that left an impression on me to look forward, like to look. Let me see what the Chicago School is about, and then once you start working and you start being in all these training opportunities, you start seeing and how valued the Chicago School students are in these different
Yeah.
communities around Chicagoland.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great way to kind of reflect on the impact that you have, because so many of the students that go through your program are out there in the community during their program. And even though they're still in training, they're having a big impact on the community. And then, of course, they move on and they graduate and they get licensed and they carry that through the rest of their career.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you were touching on part of that experience that you had, kind of reflecting on the Chicago school and how cool that level of and depth of kind of clinical knowledge and the ability to apply that in the community was. But what do you think kind of along those lines makes the Chicago school a unique place or a particularly valuable place to study for students?
Hmm. And I think some of it is just the openness and persistence of a lot of the people that are willing to give clinical care to the
Hmm.
others in the community. The field, it demands a lot, and you
Yeah,
get a lot in return from this training.
sure.
And I think there's a lot of care that's taken, and this is communicated well. I think
Yeah,
everyone's care about their different levels, or not different levels, but different areas of expertise and knowledge that they have, and it was, I knew it was just something like I want to be a part of.
hmm.
So I'm sorry, I think I trailed off on on the actual
No,
question
no,
itself,
no.
but
I think you touched on what I feel is a really important part of it, and goes back to your conversation about the impact that you have and the focus you have in your role. And the reality is, clinical practice can be very difficult, right? It can take a personal toll on you if you're not managing that well. And I think one of the things that the Chicago Clinical Psychology program does well, because it's got such a big, diverse group of faculty who are committed to the mission of training new psychologists who also practice in the field and understand the realities of clinical practice. There's this there's this kind of constant mentorship and support that students get about the realities of practice and how to engage in good self-care and how to have good, healthy professional boundaries so that you can keep doing what you're meant to do, right? What you came to school to do without burning yourself out. It's one of the many things that I think makes the program unique.
mhm. And it's I think everyone models it so far
Yeah,
that I've seen, and even from my time as a student, from now as faculty, it's that the modeling is done really well, and it's something that can be emulated, but not just emulated, but something that is now my own. How do I do these
yeah,
things?
Yeah,
how
really
that
internalize it, right?
helps and empower other students that are coming after me
Yeah,
to help them find their own way that they can continue to pass it on as well.
absolutely. So having been a student, right, where you were at a point where you were trying to decide where to go, which program to choose, what advice would you have to other people out there who are considering becoming a clinical psychologist?
I think some of it is kind of doing a little homework, but
Yeah,
and seeing what it would mean to be a clinical psychologist, and some of that is learning about the different areas that we can fill,
yeah,
and I and you know, especially because I was trained as a generalist, it's really my and up to me to
yeah,
what my interests are, and I think that lends really well. Like I have a great foundation, but I think because of that foundation, I can go into certain areas that are really interesting for myself. Like for
yeah,
example, I, I didn't know that I would start working with a large population of clients who um, are experiencing OCD.
yeah,
And now I do that. I didn't even think that when I initially started my training, especially coming from student affairs. And I
yeah.
thought, well, okay, well, I will stay working in college counseling centers. But I
Hmm.
found myself moving more into the community as well. And so though I think this is where I still believe in the university, and I believe in the sharing of knowledge and gathering, and that's why I'm here now.
Yeah,
But even I can still practice the way I want to practice
right.
and feel some other interests of mine. And I think the Chicago school lends really well to that. And I think just even taking advantage of that. So like
Yeah,
come in with your interests, be ready to learn.
yeah,
There's gonna be that foundation, but also don't just, keep those interests in mind because they
yeah.
will serve you later.
Yeah, I think yeah, like you said, first and foremost, you really need to do your homework. Make sure that clinical psychology is the right fit for you. But you touched on something else that I think is really beautiful about the field, and it's that, programs are virtually all generalist in nature, the accredited programs like ours. And it's that generalist approach allows you to, and it seems contradictory, but it allows you to build this base of knowledge from which you can launch yourself into a myriad of different specialty areas, which is really cool. And I say this on a pretty regular basis, but there aren't many degrees that give you the breadth of opportunity that a clinical psychology degree will. There's so many doors that are there for you to open pursuing a degree in this field that it's just the flexibility and the kind of the freedom you get from a career choice perspective is pretty incredible.
And it's one of if you even before starting a program like this is asking questions of
Yeah.
those around you, because once you start training and you need to ask questions and you need to seek supervision, even
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
after you become seasoned, there's moments where you need to ask for maybe some help or some guidance.
Yeah. Yeah, that is such a critical point because you're going to need some help at some point, whether it's from your peers or a faculty member or a student support counselor or someone. That willingness to kind of open yourself up to not knowing and being able to ask for support when you need it are so important.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well,
And so,
Dr. Diaz, oh, no, go ahead,
no, I
please.
was saying, yeah, and what you build now, and like students, what they build now, and skills and habits that
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
will build into your professional identity that you'll just carry throughout.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Dr. Diaz, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
And thank you for having me.